Hey, what's up everybody, Retro Gaming Guy here. Today in this video we are going to demo and review the Retro Rager 500GB plug and play setup. So this is a PC loaded with over 5,000 retro video games, comes with a controller, comes with a SSD installed within the PC, ready to go, and all the necessary cables to get it up and running. So we are going to take a look at this, set it up, test it out, see what the performance is like on here, because it does seem like this comes with tons of retro video game collections, many of which I'm dying to test out on this PC. So let's dive into it. Alright, so we're going to open this up. So we have a controller here, looks to be PlayStation style controller. Looks like our power supply and our HDMI cable. And then we have our PC itself. Alright, looks like it's in great shape here. Appears to be an HP Elite desk. I'm not seeing, here we go. I'm not seeing the model number on here. Alright, well it's an HP Elite desk, which I'm actually fairly familiar with, although this looks to be a different one than what I'm used to. We have 4 USB 3 ports on the back, so we can certainly connect a bunch of controllers here, 2 on the front. Looks like we've got microphone here, audio jack over here, USB Type-C, I believe it's, yeah, Type-C up here in the front. And this doesn't have a HDMI, so I guess this is probably, let me open this up. Yeah, so this is an HDMI to DisplayPort. So this would connect back here, where are we? Just like that, and it basically does exactly the same thing. It transmits video and audio, and this is HDMI that would go into our TV. So no real difference there from an HDMI cable. This goes right back here, and let's take a look at the controller that we got here. I'll actually lay this down because this is a little bit top heavy there, so I actually think it's meant to be laid down. That's how the picture was on the website. So I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the controller here, clear all this out of the way. So we do have just a generic PlayStation style controller here. I'm going to plug this into one of those USB 3 ports. Let's see, a little bit lightweight, but it does seem to be, does have a good feel to it. No branding on here, so it is 100% third-party generic, which obviously, given the fact that it's USB, it's not going to be authentic, PlayStation style, but seems to be decent enough quality. So we're going to plug this in. Let me just pull that through a little bit. I don't want to take the whole thing out, and I'm going to plug it in up here. I'm going to actually run the DisplayPort to HDMI cable through my capture card so I can actually show you guys exactly how this boots up and what everything's like on here, because I want to dive in and test out the games on here because it looked very promising. Alright, so this does seem to have Batocera version 37 on there, which at the time of this video is actually super current. That is the latest from Batocera, so I'm kind of surprised to see that on there. I didn't realize that that's what was going to be included on here. It just said Batocera when I placed the order here. So let's see what we've got. Now this is only 500 gigabytes, so I'm not expecting massive collections here, but we'll see what we've got. Alright, so here on our all games list, 5,373 games on here. So that's pretty massive list actually for just 500 gigabytes. Let's jump in and just see the layout within. I have seen this theme before, so I believe every single collection is going to be laid out like this. We have a text list on the left, we have a video preview dead center, we have some box art and cover art in the middle. Description of the title, bottom right, and then rating and some additional information as to like who published the game, developed the game, when it was released, genre, etc. So I do really like this layout. It has literally everything you could ever want. So as we scroll down, everything does come together very nicely here. We have background music, we have audio for the video previews here. Just everything is really nicely put together from what I can see so far. So let's back out and we're going to go through each of our collections. So favorites here, that is going to be a custom collection. You can customize that, add all your favorite titles just for easy access. We have Atari 2600, 627 games. We have Atari 5200, 96 games. Atari 7800, 58 games. Now, Commodore 64, just one game there. I'm sure we could expand upon this if Commodore was a collection that you wanted to have access to. Those games don't take up much space at all, so kind of surprised there's just one title here. I believe that actually comes with Batocera stock, though, so kind of makes sense that they would just leave that as something that you could kind of expand on your own. Original Xbox here, 48 games for the OG Xbox. That's probably the most massive collection I've seen for Xbox on Batocera. I'm definitely interested to see what the performance is like there. I know there have been improvements with the latest version of Batocera. PC Engine, just 2 games there. I believe that's another one that comes stock on here with Batocera. Nintendo Entertainment System, 129 games. So let's take a look at that one. Usually we see a lot more titles for NES, but maybe they just put in like the more popular stuff. And I do see like Bubble Bobble, Dig Dug, looks like Donkey Kong Jr. Looks like they definitely have the most popular ones, which I think is good. I mean, I don't really get too jazzed up about having, hundreds and hundreds of NES games when in all reality, I probably play maybe 10 of them. Personally. So let's back out of this collection. Original Game Boy here, which is an awesome collection. 557 games for the original Game Boy. Super Nintendo here, 796 for those. Let's take a look, see how everything's laid out. Very similar here. Definitely liking the layout. You literally have everything you could want. You have, if you want a description, you've got it. If you want the additional information, on when it was released, the genre, all that stuff, you have that too. You have the video previews, but you also have the box art, so you don't have to sacrifice one thing to have another. You have the best of everything, so I'm definitely liking that. Right, so the next one down, N64, probably the most popular collection on here, 177 games. Now, I'm going to put this through the ringer when we start testing things out, because I see a lot of these plug-and-play setups with N64, and N64 has been, in all honesty, a mess in most of these plug-and-play setups. They always have a ton of games, but they don't perform well at all. So we're going to put this through the ringer, test everything out. Well, not everything. We can't test out 177 games, but we're going to test out some of the more challenging ones. I want to jump into Cruisin' USA or Cruisin' World. Maybe Mario Tennis. Mario Tennis is a good one. That's a tough one to emulate. Mario Kart, just to see if there's slowdown or lags, but seems to be a pretty deep collection here, 177 games, and I'm not seeing any titles here that are missing in terms of like the most popular titles. Obviously some obscure stuff I'm sure isn't on here, but we're seeing a lot of good stuff. Indiana Jones and the Infernal Machine, huge Indiana Jones fan, and that is the only game I haven't played through for the retro games for Indiana Jones. But Ken Griffey Jr.'s Slugfest, probably one of my top 5 favorite games for N64. So let's back out and continue on here, touring through what we have. Game Boy Color, 533 games. Nintendo GameCube, 70 games. Now that is pretty stacked there. So we got some 007, Backyard Baseball, Football, Crazy Taxi, Crash Nitro Kart, Legends of Zelda, Luigi's Mansion. So we've got all the Mario parties here. We've got a pretty sweet setup here. Metroid Prime and Prime 2 Echoes, Slugfest, NBA Street, NHL, NFL Street, but NHL Hits, which is an awesome one. Pokemon game, Sonic, Soul Calibur, Star Wars, Super Monkey Ball, Super Mario Brothers, Super Smash Brothers. Awesome. Looks awesome. I mean, I want to see what the performance is like. Game Boy Advance, 1,028 games. Nintendo Wii, 31 games. Let's see what we got for Wii. I'm a big Wii fan. I think people sleep on the Wii. I love the Nintendo Wii. So we've got Mario Kart Wii here, Mario Party, Metroid Prime Trilogy, Pokemon, Super Smash Brothers. We've got the House of the Dead games. I love those. This one, Overkill. People sleep on that game too. That's an awesome game. Intense, but awesome. We've got the Wii Sports, Wii Play, Sports Resort. Awesome. So it looks good there. I'm going to test this out with the Dolphin bar, the Mayflash Dolphin bar, and I have somewhere around here, I have a Wii Remote. So I'm going to find that when we get to the demo portion of this, and I'm going to test it out with that as well. So we have Wii U here. How many games? 4 games for Wii U. What do we have? Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. Awesome title. Mario Kart 8. Mario Tennis Ultra Smash. It's my favorite Wii U game. And Super Mario 3D World. So we'll have to test this out. That's pretty advanced. I'm kind of surprised to see that on here. And is that everything? No. So we have ports. We have Pie Game, which is just like a trivia thing. Comes on Batacera. Atomus Wave. How many games? 36 games. What do we have in here? Let's see. All right, so I was going to say, I haven't seen any duplicates so far. I do see some here in this collection. But that seems to be it on here. This one definitely has some duplicates. I know Atomus Wave can be a little funky, though, so I'm not mad at that. But yeah, there's definitely some duplicates in here. I don't see duplicates in any of the other collections. I will dive into that a little bit more off camera, and I'll report back to you guys on that at the end, because that does drive me nuts when there's, you know, say 5,000 games, and then you dive in and find out that there's 2 of every game. It's like, okay, there's not really 5,000, then there's 2,500. But I'm not, like I said here, going in Mega Drive, we're not seeing any duplicates in here. Maybe, no, those aren't, no, it's a sequel, so there's no duplicates in here. All right, so continuing on, we have Game Gear. How many Mega Drive games? 784, 259 Game Gear games, Sega Saturn, 21 games, so it's not super stacked, but what do we have in here? We have Daytona USA, we have Area 51, we have Mortal Kombat, Maximum Force, Sonic Jam, Sonic 3D Blast, Road Rash, Virtual Cop 1 and 2, Virtual Fighter. So I'm actually some really great games in here. It's not a massive number, but all of these games I'm actually familiar with. Earthworm Jim 2. These are all good games, so I like the selection there. Dreamcast, 35 games for Dreamcast. So that's probably, it's not a super attractive number there by any means, but 35 is still 35. Let's jump in here. Crazy Taxi 1 and 2, Capcom versus SNK. Jet Grind Radio, awesome game. Gauntlet Legends, probably my all-time favorite game of all time is Gauntlet Legends, so I'm stoked to see that in here. Legacy of Kain, Solo Reaver, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, Clash of the Superheroes, Matt Hoffman's Pro BMX, we've got NFL Blitz, we've got Resident Evils, Power Stones, awesome. Sonic Adventure 1 and 2. What else? We have Street Fighters, Virtual Fighters, Virtual Tennis, another one of my favorites. WWF Royal Rumble, love that. So, awesome collection there. PlayStation, what do we have here? Crash Bandicoots, we've got, how many games were in here? Getting ahead of myself. 66 games, so pretty good. If they're good selections, I'm happy with the lower numbers, and the fact that we have 500 gigabytes here, I get why it's not like, we see sometimes 300 games for PlayStation in some of these collections. It's certainly more attractive than 66, but if you're not playing them all, then, it really doesn't matter. So we've got the Medal of Honors, we've got the Mortal Kombats here, we've got NBA Jam Tournament Edition, we've got Need for Speeds, NFL Blitz, Ready to Rumble, Silent Hills, Tekken's, Time Crisis. Ooh, I would like to try out Time Crisis. What would be sick is if they had it for PS2. I know there's probably only a couple PS2 games here, but I want to try that out with the Sinden Light Gun, because I know that Batacera 37, it should work on there. I'd like to see if it does, in fact, work. Wrestling games, I love the old school wrestling games. It looks like we've got most of them here for PlayStation. There might be a couple missing. So here's the last collection, PS2, and we have 8 games here, so not massive. God of War, Crash Nitro Kart, Ratchet and Clank, Tekken Tag Tournament, one of my favorite games right there. We do have Time Crisis. We have 3 Time Crisis games. Have I even played that one? Crisis Zone. It's one of these I haven't played. I've played 3. I don't think I've played this one. And I like that we have the icon there saying that it's a light gun game. We got to try this with the Sinden Light Gun. I'm not going to get my hopes up, but that would be sick if it actually worked. And again, I don't even know what the performance is like on this right here, but SmackDown, Here Comes the Pain, one of my favorite SmackDown games of all time. So we've got a great selection here. And we can scroll through each of the collections by just going D-pad left or right here, but that was the last one. So let's dive in and check out what the performance is like. I want to start with, I don't really care so much for NES or Super Nintendo or Mega Drive, because I know those work on, if they work on like a Raspberry Pi, they're going to work on this. Let's go with Dreamcast, N64, Sega Saturn. Got to go PS2, Wii, and Wii U. We got to go GameCube. Oh, what the hell, we're going to try a bunch of games and game collections. I will put on the screen what each game that I demo belongs to, but I'm stoked to try this out. Let's dive into it. All right, guys, pleasantly surprised by what was delivered here. Now, the PC, I'm actually familiar with the model, not this particular version, but the model is a good PC from HP. The Elite Desk is a great model. This particular one has more USB ports than what I'm used to, so I know that it probably has some better performance as well because it's a later version of what I've used in the past. So entire setup here though, cost about $225. I think shipping was included, so $225 total price spent here. It's not cheap by any means, but it's worth every penny given the fact that you get amazing performance out of this. Most of these plug and play sort of setups we typically see anywhere from $100 to $150, and they max out at, almost every single one of them maxes out at N64 and Dreamcast. And it doesn't max out after those collections, it maxes out like midway. So you usually get about 50-50 on that. So 50% of your games for N64 or Dreamcast would work pretty well, 50% would not work at all. So with this here, we started our gameplay demos at those collections. We started with N64 and Dreamcast, and we went up from there. Everything else out there for less than this is going to get you barely to where we started today. So we jumped into Mario Tennis for N64, ran very well. We jumped into Cruisin' USA, another tough game for N64 to emulate. Perfect experience there. The only thing I didn't love about that was the controller. The controller here is actually a pretty good PlayStation 2 style controller. It looks and feels just like an original PS2 controller, but the analog sticks weren't great for racing games. Perfectly fine for the majority of titles, but for racing games, just didn't have a great feel to them. So they definitely get you by, and the performance is good. It's not great though, so you probably want to upgrade your controller if you're going to be spending a lot of time doing racing games, or if you're picky, like I tend to be a little bit picky with analog sticks. If you've seen any of my review videos on controllers or handhelds, that's one of the big things that I always pick apart. You want something that has a good sensitivity to it, that allows you to navigate and steer without overcorrecting and kind of being all over the road, which we did see a little bit here. I was with Cruisin' USA. Beyond N64 though, Dreamcast ran perfect, GameCube perfect, Nintendo Wii perfect, and I used the original Wii remote with the Mayflash Dolphin bar. If you haven't used the Mayflash Dolphin bar, I highly recommend it. It will bring your experience with Wii right up to the same performance level as you would if you had an original Wii console. So I'll put a link in the description of this video for the Mayflash Dolphin bar. At least click over to it, get some additional information on it if you aren't yet experienced with that. You will not regret it if you're into Nintendo Wii emulation and just Nintendo Wii in general. I'm a big fan of it, love that setup, and that's always what my go-to. I don't use anything other than the original controllers for Nintendo Wii because I love that original experience. But GameCube, perfect. PS2 on here, really great performance there. The only, and Wii U as well, great experience there. The only collection where I had any pushback or shortcomings was original Xbox. Some titles ran extremely well, as we saw with WWE Raw 2. Some titles didn't run well at all, to the point where I would never try to ever play those games again. Project Gotham Racing. Love that game, but unfortunately here the PC just doesn't have enough to it to get through that game effectively. So we saw significant lags, significant delays, to the point where that car was cruising at what looked like about 2 miles an hour. It is what it is. So I wouldn't get this entire setup here if your goal is to play original Xbox games. If you don't care so much about Xbox and you love all those other collections and you're happy to get into some Xbox games, because some games do work extremely well on here, if you're going to regard it as just like an icing on the cake, if some of the Xbox titles work, then I think this is absolutely amazing for you. And that's the case for me. I think that everything else that's offered here is absolutely amazing. I'm happy with that. I think that it's worth every penny that I spent on it for those games and game collections. And the fact that a couple of the Xbox games don't work well certainly doesn't, ruin the experience here. It doesn't make this worth any less than what, I ended up paying for it. So $225 for all these game collections, plug and play, ready to go, fully optimized, and with Sinden Light Gun support on here. Absolutely amazing. We jumped into Time Crisis 2 for PS2, which is a demanding game to emulate, first off, But to bring in the Sinden light gun and to have it perform as well as it did, which it performs perfectly on. I actually played through the entire game, all the stages on here, because this is a game I grew up playing in the arcade. Love this title. I've been dying to get into this title with a Sinden light gun for years now. And up until recently, that was not, even a possibility. Bottosphere version 37 made that possible. And I'm super stoked to be able to do that, to the point where I just played through the entire game. So I showed you guys as much as I could without making this video super long, but I think you guys got a good idea of what the performance is like on here for each of those high-end collections here. But yeah, again, the only shortcoming was original Xbox. So I think this is an amazing setup, and it saves a ton of time. If you're somebody that just wants to have something that you can plug in and dive into those games straight away, this is the answer right here. Much better than those other options out there that are cheaper, but you're going to have significant restrictions in terms of performance and in terms of what games and game collections you can dive into. So here you got those added collections, and you don't have to leave this exactly as it is. You can experiment, you can add and remove games. If you found that there's titles in here for PS2 that you're not going to enjoy and you want to add more, you can remove them. You can add your own titles in there. If you want to dive into Xbox and remove those titles that just aren't up to snuff, they aren't going to deliver that performance that you want, you can remove those, free up some space, add more PS2 games, add more GameCube games. You can customize this to what your taste is. This is a great starting point, and that's actually what I'm probably going to do. I'm probably going to go in here and tweak some stuff, move some stuff around, and see what I end up with in the end. So definitely recommend this if you're somebody, again, that's looking for a plug and play setup with all these capabilities. I'll put a link up here at the top of the screen as well as in the description, so you can click over to Retro Rager's site, get some additional information at the very least. That's going to do it for today, though. If you enjoyed the video, please give me a thumbs up on the video. If you have any concerns, questions, anything like that, hit me up in the comment section as well. That's going to do it for today, though. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hit that subscribe button to stay in the loop for all future videos, but I'll see you on the next video. Thank you guys so much for watching.